Hi, David Shaw with Weight Loss Exposure. In today's video I'm going to tackle a small part of what is a very big topic, the topic of sleep. I'm sticking to a small part because to me it's the most important, and it's one that is often overlooked and not even known about at all, but also because sleep is such a huge topic that I could talk forever about it in itself, and I really want to be concise with with the message I hopefully get across in this particular video. I'm also doing this video because I have read a lot of articles and news reports recently about how sleep is vital to health and well-being. Studies have been done that have shown that perhaps more so than people understood, it really is integral to sustaining a life that is optimal. It's something I've known for years. It's not news to me, but it's good to see that mainstream media is now catching up, even though it's not completely building the whole picture yet, but it's definitely progress. So I really wanted to add my views and opinions to that. So let's start with what I believe sleep should be bringing. There are two areas that sleep should be addressing, and that's physiological restoration and psychological restoration. Physiological being the body and the bodily processes and the tissue types and organs within that. Psychological being the mind, the mental, emotional and the cognitive side of things. These processes, these restoration processes, should be occurring every evening when you go to sleep and throughout your sleep. I say should because, for reasons I'll point out a little later, that unfortunately isn't the case for a lot of people. And the reason being is because typically people associate getting a good night's sleep with one factor, where in my opinion there are three factors, but the one factor that people tend to identify with or even just simply know about is sleep duration. So the amount of hours that one is asleep, or the amount of hours that someone goes to bed for, whether they're asleep for all those hours is another matter altogether. It's generally understood that people know that they should be sleeping 7, 8, 9 hours a night, and that is integral to sustaining health and well-being. But as I said, to me there are three. But before I go on to the other two, I just want to say that even though people know about this one aspect and potentially not the other two, people still mismanage this one aspect. So people are going to bed and not getting 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep, getting half of that. Some people, a fraction of that. Some people not sleeping at all, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. So even within the understanding that people have, sleep is being mismanaged. So my concerns about people's lack of awareness or respect for sleep is only greater by that very fact. So now moving on to what I consider to be the three factors to a good night's sleep. So I've said sleep duration, the other is sleep time and sleep quality. Sleep time is the one I really want to focus on, and clearly I don't mean the length of time because that's sleep duration. I mean the time that people are going to sleep. As humans, we're hardwired to sleep at certain times. It's a biological mechanism that's hardwired into us, but a lot of people mismanage that, perhaps because they don't even know it exists, or maybe they pay no attention to the importance of sleep full stop. Whatever the reason is, a lot of people seem to mismanage that. So what happens is there are two hormones responsible in something that's known as sleep-wake cycle, the circadian rhythm, and a bunch of other names. Going from sleep to wake, what happens is as the day winds down and daylight turns to nighttime, the hormone called melatonin is released, and it's the chief hormone responsible for bringing the body into a state of rest and sleep. The chemical induces a drowsy state and reduces body temperature in a process that should be unwinding that person down to then sleep within the next 2 or 3 hours. And peak melatonin levels are around about 10 o'clock, so it's advised that people should be going to bed around that time. And then by full daylight, the other hormone, the awakening hormone of cortisol, is rising and is at its peak at mid-morning. And that is responsible, as I said, it's the awakening hormone, so it's a stress response hormone to prepare the body for the day. And as I said, it rises towards mid-morning, and you have these two hormones that are working in opposing manners to help with the body's natural rhythm of sleep, or what should be a natural rhythm of sleep. And when one is at its peak, or when one is rising, the other is suppressed. That's how they work. As I said, melatonin is brought about by nighttime, so it's responsive to darkness and the lack of sunlight, etc. And cortisol is responsive to the light, so whether it's natural daylight or electronic equipment emitting light, light bulbs, etc. Any form of light, these hormones will respond to accordingly. So what happens is people who are mismanaging their sleep time rather than the sleep duration, or in addition to their sleep duration, could potentially be messing around with these natural hormone and the sleep-wake cycles that's meant to dictate when someone sleeps and when someone wakes up. And if they're doing that, then they're not getting those psychological and physiological restorative processes taking place. And it's in that a host of potential ill health symptoms and effects occur, such things as immune system impairment, chronically aching muscles and joints because the body is not able to get the restorative sleep it needs on a physiological level, mental and physiological sluggishness, poor skin, nail and hair quality, and a whole host of other things. Ultimately what that does is it places a cumulative stress on the body. So individually some of those things might also have a knock-on effect to weight management. For example, feeling mentally and physically sluggish because you've not had the restorative processes taking effect typically leads to a hampered metabolic rate, and then poor dietary choices, poor food selections to try and get into a state of alertness, so as a pick-me-up, so to speak. And clearly, as I've discussed in other videos and articles, that in itself can cause weight problems, let alone blood sugar management problems, etc. So that's just one example of how one adverse response to sleep, to mismanagement of sleep, can affect body weight in itself. But in the bigger picture, it's the cumulative stress of all these things going on that I've just listed that will typically leave a person overstressed to the point that the stress response of the body is to gain weight, and in that process usually lead to a level of health that spirals down into ill health. And it's really that I really wanted to highlight. It's the cumulative effect of this chronic problem, this ongoing problem of not sleeping when the body is designed to be asleep, and or missing out on sleep altogether for some people if they work night shifts or whatever, or just not being able to sleep or just staying up all night. That really leads to this cumulative effect of overstressed and the ill health and obesity that can come from that. Ultimately, with sleep, there are many other factors that are involved in bringing a good night's sleep. Other than sleep itself, the type of food a person's eating, the amount of hydration, the amount of physical movement they're getting, and a whole host of other things. But I just really wanted to highlight in this particular video the importance of sleep time and how it's critical that such a hardwired process within the body in terms of the sleep-wake cycle with the hormones that work around that is respected. If you really want to manage your health and vitality, if you're having problems with it, if you're struggling with your weight in addition to any health and vitality issues, then sleep is something that is so integral to that. It's depending on how out of sync your sleep is, it's not something that is always such a big burden or big challenge to overcome. It certainly doesn't cost anything, it's free to work on. So for a lot of people, they can get so much from really first acknowledging the fact that there are other factors in play when it comes to what defines a good night's sleep, and then respecting how important sleep is, that it can have a massive impact just by starting to take some action on those things. In my article there's a lot more detail, there's some diagrams, a particular diagram that explains the melatonin cortisol relationship, perhaps in more detail and maybe even a little simpler than I tried, and just general more information on this subject of the importance of sleep and how it can help to sustain or improve health and vitality and manage weight, or conversely, if sleep is mismanaged, cause those things to spiral out of control, which I know a lot of people are dealing with. So the link to that article will be in the information box below. There's also a lot more information on sleep and the circadian rhythm, the sleep-wake cycle, and everything around sleep within my free weight loss manual called the Weight Loss Blueprint. And it then ties in all the other areas, some of which I discussed, so food, movement, hydration, and how raising those have a direct impact on your ability to sleep and the quality of your sleep as well. So it's all interrelated. So my book really is a complete picture, whereas I've just focused on one area just to kind of really highlight something that I've always felt has been misunderstood, and in recent times has been discussed a lot more, and hopefully I've added to that greater understanding of sleep. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.